There's nothing better than sports on a Sunday.
The return to glory.
It's time to kick off.
20, he will score!
Tip off.
Way downtown, bang, bang!
Or tee off.
They're going to go nuts when he hits this thing.
On Sunday Huddle with Colin Russo. Presented by Hard Rock Bet.
Happy Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet right here on ESPN 106.3. We're from the City Place Studios in downtown West Palm Beach. Colin Russo, Cade Chumsden on ESPN 106.3. Also on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter/X at ESPN West Palm. Packed program today. The NFL schedule in dramatic format. Classic NFL trying to make an event out of everything. Released their schedule. We got some Game 7 action a little later on today. Looking forward to that between the Thunder and the Nuggets. We'll preview that. Lot to talk about, lot to do. First things first, Cade, did you like how the NFL, before I get to that actually, speaking of the Game 7s, speaking of the horse racing, speaking of the golf, the PGA Championship, there's so much to watch. There's so much to look forward to. Have some fun over on the Hard Rock Bet app. Go download today in the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store. Go to hardrock.bet online to get started. Because if you're interested in getting started in that last round of the PGA Championship, if you're interested in the NBA Game 7s, especially with the conference finals on the horizon, or the Stanley Cup for that matter, MLB, we just had the Subway Series. Sprinkle a little action over on Hard Rock Bet. Put together a parlay, utilize futures, utilize promos, go to Battle of the Bets, and see if you can enter in on a pot. Hard Rock Bet has it all, and you get $100 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not hit. It's offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida. The wager terms, conditions apply. Considered by gambling. Call 1-888-ADMIT. Cade, we were talking about it a little earlier this week. It was trademarked NFL Schedule Release Week. Couldn't think of a better name. NFL Schedule Release Week. And they did a little bit here. They did one Thanksgiving game on Tuesday. Then they did a Christmas game on Monday. Then all of a sudden the opening game, the Eagles and the Cowboys, comes out. It's a teardrop effect, a raindrop effect. Little by little. I thought this was ridiculous. Classic NFL overbiting on trying to make everything an event, especially in the offseason. What was your takeaway on the NFL's positioning to get to the eventual schedule release?
I don't necessarily mind it. I like getting little bits and pieces here and there. It was mainly the timing of it. We are in the thick of the NBA and NHL.
There's too much going on.
Yeah, I just wish because there is a little bit of a break when you go from semifinals to conference finals. I wish they could have announced it maybe a little bit on Saturday and then the rest on Sunday, like a weekend type of deal. I just didn't like how, because it got so clustered with everything else we needed to talk about. Like I'm listening to on Sportsmanlike, or I'm listening to, Joe and Q or something like that, and I want to hear about anything that's going on in the NBA or something like that, and I'm getting, let's talk Cowboys-Eagles. Like I don't want to talk about Cowboys-Eagles right now, especially not the Cowboys.
Right.
You give me, I'm more interested in that Sunday night game, which is the Bills and Ravens. So that's a way more interesting week one matchup.
So you have no problem with how the NFL actually did it in terms of releasing it and how they released it over a set period of time.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mind that.
You have more of a problem with the actual NFL doing it this specific past week.
Yes. Do it the first week of NBA or NHL playoffs. Not in the height of
Well, they want to do it because they got the draft at the end of April. Then they want a 2-week hiatus. Then all of a sudden you got this. And then you'll have OTAs carry you through the beginning of June.
I understand it from their own season perspective, but I wish the NFL, and this is we talk about how the NFL is now taking Christmas. They're now taking New Year's.
Think about the sports fan for a second.
I wish they could. Just let us in. You guys are the king of sports in America.
Nobody's doubting that.
That's not going away anytime soon. Just let some of the other sports fans enjoy their sports for a little bit.
Yeah, right. So, speaking of that, they released it over the set period. Eagles, Cowboys. You mentioned, I don't want to hear about Eagles, Cowboys. Quick thoughts here. Eagles, Cowboys opening game. Do you like the fact that they are shoving the Cowboys down our throats once again? The NFL schedule, or are you okay with that being the opening night game?
I'm actually okay with it because it's the Eagles, and the Eagles should stomp them week one. So I actually don't mind it whatsoever, especially when you're guaranteed to get a healthy Cowboys team. It was kind of redundant by the end of the year when the Cowboys had nobody on there.
It's hard to judge, and they're 2 years removed from a very good year. So, but new coach.
I don't mind it week one.
You don't mind it. What about, all right, how about this? The Sao Paulo game on the Friday again. Do you like the fact that they're going to Sao Paulo? I like the fact that they're putting it on YouTube for free. That's like the NFL finally throwing the fan a bone there, not having to pay for a streaming service to watch a freaking football game. But they got Sao Paulo, they got Kansas City Chargers that second day, that Friday. You like that?
It'll depend on if they can correct their errors, like with the field and some other things. Like
I thought
with
that was
travel.
it was a mess. It was a good game. But Jordan Love got hurt, number one. But number two, the players no way they enjoyed doing that. They couldn't leave the hotel. Then all of a sudden, you get transported right to the thing. There was the thing about the color green that was a major problem in the city.
That was huge.
And then it was a good game. It was 29-20 to 32 or whatever it was. And Jordan Love gets hurt at the end of the game, but it was a good one. It was a good one nonetheless.
I don't necessarily mind. I wish it was the Saturday, not the Friday, but I don't necessarily mind the timing of it. You said there's huge travel issues. I 100% agree. But the fact that you do it week one, guys don't have to deal with this in like a 4 or 5 day span. They have time to get down there.
A year from now, we're going to be talking about this with those early games being that Australia game. So that's going to Sao Paulo, which is 10, 12 hours, however long it is. And then you do Australia, which is like a 24-hour travel day. That's its own beast. But in terms of the international games, you know what? It gives you something on Friday. It always has to be Kansas City and Dallas. But the thing that you like is the first Sunday night football game being Baltimore at Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah. That's terrific. That's a brilliant way to start this off. A rematch of what was one of the most intense division games last year.
Yep.
One to set the tone because, let's be honest, the Bills didn't really necessarily have the hottest of starts last year. Or they had those 2 games and then they got blitzed by the Ravens.
Right.
So now let's see it. Okay, week 1, guys. And I was listening to Joe Fortenbaugh earlier this week. He was talking about how the Ravens are one of the best week 1 teams in the last decade.
Yeah, and they played well against the Chiefs last year. They just had that, toe touch.
Yeah, unfortunately.
At the end of the game.
But that should be amazing for a week 1 game, especially I love how this week 1 is not necessarily all division rival games. Week 18, it's literally the whole slate. Week 1, let's get some action here early going.
Yeah, they do a little bit of back and forth there. There's some intrigue. Weirdly enough, maybe I'm a homer here. I think Jacksonville, Carolina is a very intriguing game. That's the week 1 game there, 1 o'clock. It's a weird 1 o'clock game, but I think it's intriguing. You mentioned some non-divisional opponents. They got your Houston Texans taking on the Rams.
That's going to be a great game.
In SoFi.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal game.
There's a lot of questions about what Los Angeles is going to look like versus what Houston, especially that offensive line, is going to look like. I think they did a decent job with this week 1. And the opening Monday night game being Minnesota at Chicago, I think that's an intriguing game.
Yep.
Everybody wants to see McCarthy, and everybody wants to see Williams. Done. That's easy. I think the NFL, for a change, they screwed teams here and there with certain schedules. But in terms of the big games, holidays, week 1, Monday Night Football, they did a pretty decent job at prioritizing a big game. Part of me thinks that sometimes the NFL takes for granted that a primetime slot is going to get a great rating. And this is all they care about. They care about the rating. They care about the primetime slot getting a big rating. But sometimes they assume that just because a game is in the slot, people are going to watch. They think that way with Thanksgiving. That's why you could get away with, putting the Commanders and the Niners before the Commanders got good and it being a 30-point loss. People are still going to tune in because it's that day.
See, I disagree with your statement about they did well with the holiday games.
So you don't like the holiday games.
No.
Let's get into this really quick.
I don't like the holiday games, and I don't necessarily mind the matchups individually, but the diversity is not there. The Cowboys, Lions, and Chiefs all play Thanksgiving and Christmas.
The Cowboys and the Lions are always going to play on Thanksgiving.
That's fine.
And they got the Bears out of there.
There has been no set piece for what happens on Christmas yet. And this year, we've got the Cowboys, Lions, and Chiefs all playing on Christmas.
I agree. In terms of the diversity, I could listen to the argument. But in terms of it, from our perspective today, 7 months out, these are important games.
They are. I'm not saying the matchups are bad, but it gives no really other teams an opportunity to play in the brightest spotlights. The diversity of primetime games this year is just ridiculous. The fact that the Chiefs have 7 primetime games. They're about to play nearly half of their entire season under the brightest lights. And I'll be honest, I don't necessarily think they win 15 games this year. That could be a giant waste of time for a lot of people if the Chiefs aren't the biggest of the best. Now, I know that you always have Patrick Mahomes there. But when I see the Chiefs have 7, the Cowboys have 6 primetime games, the Dolphins have 5 primetime games, whereas other teams that will be way more in contention have 3 or even 2. the NFL is simply going for money grabs in the rest of this season when it comes to the primetime games.
I think they're very, to your point, I'll add this. I think the NFL is very intrigued, very interested in breaking some individual records in terms of viewership this year. Why do you think Kansas City's playing at Dallas on Thanksgiving in their best slot at the 4:30? Because they probably want to break 50 million, and that would be a record for a regular season game. They usually get 40, 45. That's a really great rating. Kansas City at Dallas might do it. I think they're interested in that. Now, the thing is, to fight back, diversity of teams, fine. I care more about Thanksgiving. We've had some duds. We had some duds on Thanksgiving last year with Christmas especially. We've had some duds. The Chicago-Detroit game was good last year at the end, but it wasn't great. Point being, from today, now these games might stink. Who knows? Maybe a team gets broken down and the whole thing. Maybe Cincinnati's not that good. Green Bay at Detroit, Kansas City at Dallas, Cincinnati at Baltimore being the nightcap. You're going to be glued to the TV, in my opinion.
100%. Again, I'm not disagreeing with it.
But you just don't like the idea that we're seeing the same usual suspects in these big games.
You want to guess how many times we're going to see Travis Hunter on primetime this year?
One.
Yes.
Wrong guy to ask that. But
you want to guess how many times we could see Shedeur Sanders in primetime this year?
That's probably 0.
Yeah.
The thing about it, you don't know if he's going to start, so keep that in mind.
But how many times are we going to see Cam Ward in primetime this year? 0.
It did. Tennessee got 0. Yeah.
There's teams that I want to see how they can do under the most pressure, and we're not going to see them this year.
The thing, all right, I could listen to Jacksonville.
Yeah,
Selfishly.
You want to guess what that Jacksonville game is too? You probably actually know this.
It's the Monday night game against Kansas City.
Yeah.
Yes, Monday night game against Kansas City.
It's a Chiefs game Monday night.
Yeah, the Jags are just along for the
week
ride.
Week 5.
Yeah, they're along for the ride on that one. Yeah, they're along for the ride.
Couldn't even wait for them to actually get good. Had to get them early so that they could just get beat down by the Chiefs.
All right, but hold on. Let's fight back a little bit. How about December 25th? You got Dallas at Washington. I know you got to deal with the Cowboys. You get Detroit and you get Kansas City. You got to deal with the usual suspects. You got to deal with Detroit at Minnesota, but Minnesota's different this year. There's an intrigue there. And Denver at Kansas City. It's 3 divisional games, but it's the end of the year, so these divisional games are going to matter quite a bit. What's your perspective on these 3?
It's the same 3 teams I mentioned. The games themselves, I don't have a problem with. But I just want to see new teams.
You just got to accept. I think, Kate, you just got to accept that we're going to see Dallas and you're going to see Kansas City. Accept. I agree with you. The fact that Dallas is on opening night, Kansas City's on basically opening night part 2. Dallas is on Thanksgiving. Kansas City's on Thanksgiving. And then Dallas is on Christmas, and Kansas City's on Christmas. Probably their 3 and 4 biggest days of ratings for the whole season. Yeah, it's a little annoying. I agree. I don't disagree with. I think we're on the same page for the most part.
Yes, we are. I'm just crying about it.
But I want to see good games. That's all I care about. I just care about seeing good games. And I think that for once, I know last year we got unlucky with the Texan game. We got unlucky with the Ravens and the whole thing with Christmas last year. But from where I stand today, I think you have a good opportunity to get intriguing, competitive games on holidays. I think that's a win for the NFL.
So if you look at other games on those weeks, Buffalo is hosting Philadelphia the weekend of Christmas.
Yeah.
We couldn't make that a Christmas game?
Here's the thing. So this is a TV, to fight back here, this is a TV contract thing. Fox has that game. It's in Buffalo. Buffalo is a CBS city. CBS, so that means Fox a couple times a year can steal an AFC game. So I don't know for sure. I'm 90% sure on this. Fox can steal a big AFC game a couple times a year. I think they have like 2 or 3 because Fox covers the NFC. I'm sure they asked for Buffalo, Philadelphia, and they said, give it to us on a good Sunday. And the Sunday after Christmas is probably a huge one for them. So that's why they stole that. That was a Fox thing, not an NFL thing. Not to rain in that parade, but TV contracts, weirdly enough, is like my forte. Fox can ask for a couple a year, and they got a Buffalo one, Philadelphia. I'm sure that was
listen. I'm all with you. A few years ago, I did a science experiment trying to predict the most watched game in the NFL. I think this was the 2023 NFL season.
Okay.
I was 1 game away, based on my preseason prediction.
What was the number 1 game that year? Do you remember?
That year, it was the Dolphins-Cowboys game, week 16, week 15, when the Dolphins hosted the Cowboys. And the Dolphins won on a Sunday night or Sunday afternoon game.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah. And I predicted the weekend before it was going to be Cowboys-Bills, the Sunday afternoon game.
I remember a couple years ago, it was like Cowboys, Giants, and then like Raiders or something like that. That was like the biggest Thanksgiving they had.
So basically what I did in my experience was I didn't include the Thanksgiving games or the big holiday games.
Okay.
Because when it's like, when you have that special day, those are always going to go crazy. I'm talking like on a normal week, what's the most viewed game of the season? And basically I went through like the previous year's numbers, and I went through all the different statistics that could go with choosing where a game is played and when a game is played and who covers it. And basically, pretty consistently, Cowboys afternoon on Fox in the later end of the season when they're playing another really good team was basically the criteria I was going with. So I said Cowboys at Buffalo, Fox 425, and it was actually Cowboys at Dolphins, Fox 425.
Interesting. So another thing here, in terms of that week, that would be week 17, the Christmas week.
Yep.
They have 5 games that are TBD, which they might put on Saturday. Keep that in mind. One of those games that they have is a TBD, a flex game, Baltimore, Green Bay.
Yes.
So that if I don't know if they're going to do Saturday games that week, I'm going to assume they will. And if that's the case, Baltimore, Green Bay will highlight that Saturday. That's a huge weekend for the NFL.
Probably getting Houston, Los Angeles right before that if both those teams are still good.
Right. So that, and not as big of markets, but that Baltimore Green Bay.
No, but that
game,
would be like
yeah,
the 4:15, and
that'd
then
be
you have the
4:15.
prime time.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
That's it. That would be big. So
Can we also talk about real quick
go ahead
about how there's no intriguing divisional matchups in Week 18 that could decide a division? Do you remember that there was a huge theme last year?
From where we stand today. Okay, we continue.
This was a huge theme last year on wanting to see big divisional games at the end of the year to decide who wins a division, who makes a playoff. I'm going through this Week 18 list. I'm not seeing too many from what basically using last year's good teams and teams that I expect to be in contention this year. There's not too many matchups in Week 18.
You know what they tell? So you could read this and determine what the NFL was thinking here. The NFL has Detroit at Chicago. They opted to get Green Bay earlier in the year. I think that tells you that they think Chicago is going to have a good year or a competitive year to the point, because remember, J.J. McCarthy, there's questions there.
Or they think Green Bay, Minnesota is a playoff game in or out.
Maybe. So that's probably best of both worlds. They think Chicago, worst comes to worst, Chicago's really, really good and needs the game maybe to fight for a division spot, because I think Detroit's going to have some trouble. We can go through their schedule in a second. And they get Green Bay, Minnesota, which is question marks surrounding both teams on how they're going to adjust this year. They got Baltimore, Pittsburgh, that's a given. Dallas at New York. But
Washington, Philadelphia.
Washington, Philadelphia, right there. And, the rest of it, Kansas City, Las Vegas was a no-brainer. They don't have Seattle playing LA, which is interesting. They have Seattle playing San Francisco instead, which tells you that they think San Francisco might be pretty good. And Carolina, Tampa Bay, not a lot of intrigue there.
But like Atlanta's playing New Orleans instead of Tampa.
Yeah.
Like there's other, like they're not putting up the 1-2s that they did last year.
Yeah, they don't have Tampa Bay and Atlanta again. Yeah, that's a big one.
Houston's playing Indianapolis. That's a joke to me.
Yeah.
That Indianapolis could be vying for that. I think Jacksonville has a better chance at facing Houston for a division title than Indianapolis.
I would like to say the same thing, but I mean, geez, I have no idea. How about this? Last thing here before we go to break. I just want to touch on this. I know it's a specific schedule, but for a team that has a lot of questions, I talked about it over the week a little bit, the New York Giants.
Okay, I actually have a point about this because I heard you guys talk about it on Russo and Rizzo from 4 to 6.
What's your take? Let's go that first.
It's just an unfortunate circumstance. How this schedule works, you play your own division twice. You play a division, all 4 teams from one division in the NFC and the AFC, and then 3 other teams from 3 different divisions that finish the same rank as you, right?
And then a random other one is the 17th game. A random, if you're in the NFC, it would be a random AFC opponent that finished in the same spot the following year.
Yes. So for all the teams in the NFC East, they will play each other twice. They will play all the teams from the NFC North, which is unfortunate.
A terrible division, yes. A terribly good division.
They will play all the teams from the AFC West.
All pretty good, mostly.
And for the Giants, they get unfortunate teams because a lot of teams last year placed last that were probably better than what they should have been.
San Francisco.
The New Orleans Saints, the San Francisco 49ers, and the New England Patriots.
Right.
If you look at the other 3 teams in the Giants division, you could say they all equally got screwed because Philadelphia is number 4 on the hardest schedule, Cowboys are number 5, and Commanders are number 8.
Right. So that's in
So
terms
you
of strength of
can't
schedule.
necessarily call out the Giants for this.
But no, I call it the NFL. For the end of the year, they finish off with the Patriots, the Commanders, the Vikings, the Raiders, and the Cowboys. Comparatively to the start, where they got to deal with the Commanders, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, and Commanders and Cowboys also both on the road to start the year. The Chargers, then they get to deal with the Saints. That's the easy game. And then they play the Eagles twice in 3 weeks. And who's the in between? Mile High, playing Denver.
One's a Thursday night game, but yes.
Right. So that's after being on the road in New Orleans. You got to play the Eagles.
I find it interesting you call out this start of schedule because I think the Jaguars have a harder start.
The Jaguars do have a harder start, but I like their last 7. I'd rather them start hard and then finish easy. They finish easy.
Both Colts and both Titans in the last 6 weeks.
I'm okay with that. They finish easy. I'd much rather that. And a lot of those games in the early part, they have 5 home games in their first 7. So it's a little different. I think the Giants, for example, started 2 on the road against 2 teams. The Commanders is different, but the Cowboys they never beat, especially in their home opener. They never beat them, and they're not going to beat the Chiefs. And I'm just thinking from the Giants, what do you need to see for those guys not to get fired? Because you can't blame them if they start 2-6 with this schedule.
That is an interesting conversation, though.
You can't blame them.
That is an interesting conversation, though.
It's all about competitive. They got to be competitive.
What is that owner looking for this season?
I think that this year should look like, all right, steps forward. You don't care about the record. You care about competitive competition.
Yeah.
You care about if they can hang, if they're actually throwing some punches here and there. They don't have the talent, and they don't have the consistency to match up with these teams. They're going to lose the Commander game, lose the Cowboy game, lose the Chief game. All of a sudden, you're 0-3. You don't even blink. And then you play a tough team in the Chargers that are taking steps forward. And then you get the one easy game is on the road in New Orleans. And then you got to deal with the Eagles twice.
Who should start week 1 quarterback?
I would keep Dart. I wouldn't even give him a jersey. Keep him away from the schedule.
You think that'll be enough to keep his job, though?
It's a back. John Mara, the owner of the Giants, and Dable and Joe Shane need to be on the same page. What are your expectations? Once they have that meeting, if they determine that, like, listen, if we win 5 games, but I like what I see, maybe you see a little Dart towards the end of the year for 3-4 games, fine. And it looks good, all right.
100%. I agree with that.
And I think that's the best case scenario for the Giants.
I agree with that.
If they win 7 games, oh my God, throw a parade. Not with this schedule. That's Kate Chums and Colin Russo. Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet. Getting a little Game 7 action. We got Thunder, Nuggets. Can the Nuggets do it? They don't seem to go away. We'll do that. We'll blitz the book. Keep on with the program. Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet right here on ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 106.3.
It's the Hard Rock Bet Battle of the Bets. 2 bets facing off. Winning side splits $250K in bonus bets every single day. Time to pick a side. Team underdogs or team favorites. Team over or team under. There's one way to settle this. Hard Rock Bet Battle of the Bets. Pick a side for $1. Win your share of $250K or more today. Prize pool to be paid out in bonus bets, not a cash offer. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Wake up with Unsportsmanlike. I should be in the Palm Beach County Sports Hall of Fame. I did 20 years of sports radio when there was no sports radio station in that market.
The guy that got you off of the radio station is who they actually put in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if
true.
you knew this, yeah.
Yeah, Steve, he's in the Hall. You're right about that.
He is?
Yes, he's right about that. The one who took me off the air.
He's in there.
The guy that got him off the airways in South Florida. Let's put that guy in the Hall of Fame.
That's unreal.
Unsportsmanlike with me, Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman. Live weekdays 6 to 10 on ESPN 106.3.
It's Tina. You know how important it is to keep your car running. And when it comes to my car, I only trust St. Lucie Battery and Tire. They've been taking care of South Florida for over 50 years, and they're still family owned. Need new tires? They've got all the big brands. Battery issues? They've got it. Cars, trucks, boats, RVs, and even commercial fleets. And if you ever get stuck, their 24/7 roadside emergency service is a total lifesaver. Go see my friends at St. Lucie Battery and Tire, slbt.com. They'll keep you going.
Hi, this is Scott Smith with Smith Ball Baez and Prather, Florida Injury Lawyers. We are a Florida civil trial law firm that specializes in the areas of personal injury and wrongful death. Our offices are located in Palm Beach Gardens, Boca Raton, and Port St. Lucie. Our lawyers have litigated thousands of matters at the Palm Beach, Martin, St. Lucie, and Indian River County courthouses. Our lawyers, paralegals, and other numerous members of our legal team live in Palm Beach County and Treasure Coast cities and towns such as West Palm Beach, Port St. Lucie, Lake Worth, Palm Beach Gardens, Palm City, Jupiter, and others just like you and your families. We are a statewide recognized law firm, but it is your community and your families that we live and associate with on a daily basis. Our most satisfying achievement is when we know that our legal power has helped a fellow member of our Palm Beach County and Treasure Coast community secure a fair and just huge result. If you've been injured, the lawyers at Smith, Ball, Baez, and Prather will help. Call us at 500-HELP, 500-HELP. With Smith, Ball, Baez, and Prather, help is just a local phone call away. Offices Palm Beach Gardens, Boca Raton, and Port St. Lucie.
Hey, Steph Prince here, General Manager of ESPN West Palm, to tell you about a team that has meant a lot to me and this community for a long time. Bob and the team at Bradley Heating and Air Conditioning have been helping me stay cool for years, whether at home or in the office. And living in South Florida with 3 kids, I don't know what I'd do without them. Family owned and operated, serving Royal Palm Beach and beyond since 1980. Let the knowledgeable and trained team at Bradley help you with your residential and commercial needs, installation, repair, seasonal maintenance, upgrades of all makes and styles and models of HVAC equipment, and so much more. Bradley Heating and Air Conditioning does things right the first time and makes the process smooth, stress-free, and most importantly, keeps you cool. Give them a call at 561-793-7497. That's 561-793-7497 or bradleyair.com. Any need, big or small, trust the amazing team at Bradley Heating and Air Conditioning.
Red right, 24 double Puma on one, replay.
This is Sunday Huddle with Colin Russo, presented by Hard Rock Bet.
Rolling on here on a Sunday edition of Sunday Huddle, presented by Hard Rock Bet right here on ESPN 106.3. If you've been in a car accident, truck accident, suffered a slip and fall, an accident of any kind, my friends Mark Anajar and Glenn Levine at Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys, they're the type to fight for you. I know with Anajar and Levine, they got my back no matter the circumstance. They don't even charge you unless you win. They work tirelessly to get you the maximum compensation that you deserve. Let's call it like we see it. They're the best in the business for a reason. Don't settle for just any attorney. Demand Anajar and Levine today, because that's the Anajar and Levine difference. All it takes is one phone call to take back control of your life. Don't wait. Call for that free consultation today. That's 1-800-747-FREE. 1-800-747-3733. Take back control now with Anajar and Levine. Colin Russo, Kate Jumson with you from the City Place Studios in downtown West Palm Beach on a Sunday edition of Sunday Huddle. We got some Game 7 action tonight or today, I should say, during the day, to look forward to at 3:30 tip-off Nuggets Thunder. Now, Nuggets Thunder has been a very strange series because it's been polarizing. First game, the Nuggets, I should say, coming off a 7-game series where they were, beaten to the bone, fired their coach 2 weeks prior. All of a sudden, they steal game 1 in OKC. And everybody's like, oh my goodness, the Nuggets are clicking at the right time. They stole their game. They got back into it. Fourth quarter comeback. Then the Thunder respond and beat them by about 45 points. And then, weirdly enough, classic Nuggets fashion, first game at home, they beat the Thunder 2-1. Then, in a very gritty Game 4 in Denver, the Thunder were able to eke it out in a low-scoring affair, 92-87. In a crucial Game 5, the Thunder win again, up 3-2. Then we get to Game 6 at the end part of last week, and it's another one of those games where the role players start to show up for Denver, tied up at 3 apiece. This has been as polarizing of a series because it's either the Nuggets side characters, their role players, show up and they could beat anybody, or they don't show up, or Jokic, and they get destroyed, or they get outplayed thoroughly. They can't score. It's incredible. Very polarizing series. 3:30 p.m. on ABC. Cade, what's your perspective on this game today? What do you think is going to happen?
you got to actually make shots. I think the hottest hand, I don't care if it's from your role players, I don't care if it's from your superstars. When you're the Thunder and you're in that second half and you miss, 13 straight three-pointers in a row, it doesn't matter who's shooting the ball at that point, you're not going to be able to win games. We saw it with the Celtics in their series against the Knicks. Those first two games, it was Bricktown, right? Which is, fun fact, in Oklahoma City. But when you're the Thunder, you want to make sure you send a message in the first half. I think if you try to play this out in a close game at the end, I think that favors the Nuggets.
I tend to agree. The thing about the Thunder is they completely destroyed the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round of the NBA playoffs, and it was pathetic. That wasn't even a team that could hold a candle to them. The Thunder, being a 68-win team, they won about 52 games by 10+, an NBA record. They're sitting here now, and they're a little bit more mortal than they were 2 weeks ago. And that's a big deal, I think, in the NBA, is when you play a team like Boston from last year, who lost 2 games throughout the entire postseason, showing that you can actually beat them is almost as much of a spiritual victory for that team and for the rest of the postseason as much as anything. Denver's championship coded, yes, but the Thunder were a historically great team, offensively and defensively. Efficiency, they were young, they were deep. They played the best defense in the league by a wide margin, but they lost game 1. All of a sudden, they're mortal. It changes the whole series. There's some pressure. The dynamic shifts. I think Denver, weirdly enough, because of their experience and their age, they know what's a big game and what isn't. They know that they got to win game 6. Game 5, it's not the most important thing in the world that they win, but they need to win game 6. They know that they got to win the first game in Denver. They knew that they had to win the game 5 against the Los Angeles Clippers in their building when it was tied 2-2. They knew this stuff. They knew they had to steal one in LA. Denver can pick and choose their moments, and I think that's the championship code in them. But in terms of what we're going to see today, I tend to agree with you. The second it gets game 7, make a move, make a play, I trust the likes of guys who have been there before and have done it a whole lot more than what the Thunder have. The Thunder don't necessarily have that. They got killed by Dallas last year. While the Nuggets, on the other hand, they lost in 7 games to the T-Wolves, but they were in that 7th game regardless. They beat the Clippers. They killed the Clippers, really, in game 7 of that series. This is a little bit more experienced. They beat the Lakers in 7 all those 3 years ago. This is an experienced bunch. They know how to operate in a game 7, and therefore they know how to close games. I'm not saying the Thunder don't know how to close games, but a game 7 is a little different. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Denver come out on top here. I really wouldn't.
No, me neither. And I think that if you're the Thunder, you actually, in my opinion, have more of the pressure. You're at home. You have been putting up unbelievable numbers, as you explained. The Thunder, it's been here, done that, go win another game. Or the Nuggets. The Nuggets. The Nuggets, it's been here, done that, go win another game.
Know what the big game is. The big games are game 5, game 7, the first game on the road, the first game at home. They've won all 4. That's it. And weirdly, maybe the NBA player won't say this, but from the media perspective, hypothesizing, you got to win the turnaround games. You got to win the crucial turnaround games. And they do that. So because of that, I would give, and I know they lost game 5 against the Thunder, but they won game 6. They just need to get the 3, and they didn't have it at home. I think that the Thunder are going to, I would give the Nuggets my nod if I had to pick today. Life on the line, close a game. Jamal Murray knows how to close a game. He's great in a tight spot, and Jokic the same way.
I think we're going to see I think we're going to get a lot, actually, from the first 4 minutes of the third quarter. Because I expect the Thunder to do what they're supposed to do in the first half. They could be up 15. They could be up 5. It could be a tie ball game. But the moment that you don't get another break in the game, like at halftime, you can go inside, you can cool off, you can reset everything. The moment that you're back out there and you don't have another chance to stop is going to determine what you do the rest of the game.
Yeah. I'm so bizarrely intrigued in how Denver has done this because they fired their coach, they fired their general manager. They did it with 3 games left in the regular season. Mike Malone, a guy who was the 4th longest tenured coach in the NBA, and they ship him to the curb, distrust in the locker room. They lost 4 straight games or something like that, 5 straight games without Jamal Murray, and they fired him. And now they got David Edelman in there and an interim general manager, and they're able to do this. It's a testament, I think, to how much of a minute impact coaches really have and how it's all about the great experience of a team. Edelman might be a good coach, but no coach walks in there with 3 games to play and is able to churn out 2 7-game series in a row against good opponents, including one who won 68 games, because he is the next coming, and they just didn't have that with Mike Malone. This is, to me, more about the player and more about the dynamic with the coach, because I think the coach, the main appeal is not to be the all-time greatest basketball mind. It's what's your relationship to your best player.
I was about to say, you said it was a minute figure in the team.
In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I actually think it speaks more volume to how much of a teammate you are as a coach.
Yeah.
How much are you actually encouraging your players?
You're a role player. You're a role player.
Not necessarily the X's and O's, like you said, but how much are you building good camaraderie within the locker room? How much are you making this more of an organization and a family rather than just being the guy who's telling everyone what to do?
Yeah, and there's different coaches that this doesn't apply to. I think Spoelstra's in that company. But your relationship with your players, especially your best players, I think determines whether you're going to hang around for a while.
Of course.
And more so, you could be the best coach in the world. Mike Malone was a championship-winning coach. They got rid of Nick Nurse quickly after he won a championship with Toronto. They got rid of Mike Malone. They got rid of Frank Vogel. They got rid of Ty Lue in Cleveland. It's all about the relationship and how it continues to develop. If there's a power dynamic shift, that is my takeaway. Because if Denver's able to do this, if they're able to close this out today and win 2 straight 7-game series, firing their coach 3 games before the end of the regular season, I think it's more of a bad news to the other coaches in the league and more of a players, make sure you and the coach are on the right page. Because if he's not and you need to get rid of him, you could still make it work. And maybe Denver's an outlier in this, but that would be my takeaway. And I think that's a bad thing for other coaches because they realize that I'm protected now, but at the end of the season, winning 50 games, we should be all right. No. It's all about power dynamics in the NBA. It's very interesting. All right.
We've had a lot of that this year with the Luka trade.
Luka thing with the front office versus the player, and then now you get the coaches or the front office and the owners versus the coaches with the Denver thing. The Taylor Jenkins from Memphis got fired, and that was because he wasn't really resonating with the locker room anymore. They don't care what time of the year it is. They just care that the players are happy. Unless you're trying to trade them, then you get rid of them. That's Luka Doncic. Cade Chumson, Colin Russo, Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet. Cade, last thing here before we go to break and get to a little Blitz the Book on the flip side, your score prediction for today's Game 7, Nuggets, Thunder, 3:30 ABC. At the end of the game, what is that score going to be?
The number for the Nuggets to get over is 110. They got to score more than 110 points. On the road, with everything on the line, I think they make it happen. I think they actually come back in the second half. I think Thunder gets out to an early lead. Not a huge lead. They won't be up by 20, but make this an 8-point game at halftime. And I think the Nuggets experience closes it out at the end. I'll go 117 to 113 in favor of Denver.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to call a shot here. I'm going to say this is an overtime game, number one.
Okay.
And I think this is an overtime game, and I think that the Denver, like you said, to agree with you, will eke it out at the end. In terms of who's going to start out hot, I think this is going to be back and forth the whole way. Weirdly enough, I think Denver will actually strike first. Thunder will rumble back, and Denver's going to settle the game down. Overtime, score prediction, I'm going to go 109-104. 109-104 in overtime in favor of the Denver Nuggets. That's our score predictions there. We're going to make sure our bets line up with it. We're going to blitz the book on the flip side. Stick around for it as we close out a Sunday edition of Sunday Huddle right here on ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 106.3.
Is your air or water flowing perfectly in your home? If the answer is no, EDS is yes. Theo here, and for me, EDS Air Conditioning and Plumbing is my go-to, and it should be yours too. EDS is Palm Beach County's trusted AC and plumbing expert. They'll make sure your air and water flow perfectly. EDS is a trained comfort specialist. It's hard to stop a train. Go to edsisyes.com. That's edsisyes.com. When comfort matters, EDS is yes.
It's been a chilly start to the year, but don't let the rising temperatures catch you off guard. Hey, it's Colin Russo, and since 1960, John C. Cassidy Air Conditioning and Plumbing has proudly served Palm Beach County, keeping homes cool and comfortable. Now's the time to upgrade your AC with great financing options. Plus, ask about the Cassidy Care Club, providing year-round peace of mind. Cassidy is part of our local community and supports organizations like the YMCA and the Palm Beach Gardens Youth Athletic Association. Keep cool with Cassidy Air Conditioning and Plumbing. Find out more at CassidyAC.com.
It's the Hard Rock Bet Battle of the Bets. 2 bets facing off. Winning side splits $250K in bonus bets every single day. Time to pick a side. Team underdogs or team favorites. Team over or team under. There's one way to settle this. Hard Rock Bet Battle of the Bets. Pick a side for $1. Win your share of $250K or more today. Prize pool to be paid out in bonus bets, not a cash offer. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
As market dynamics change, the quality and service you receive from your accounting firm shouldn't. Partner-owned since 1923, Anshin Accountants and Advisors take the time to get to know you and your unique circumstances to help resolve complex issues and develop innovative tax and accounting solutions tailored to meet your goals. If you're a high net worth individual or business owner eager for a strategy to maximize tax savings, let Anshin deliver value where others can't. Visit ANCHIN.com. Anshin Accountants and Advisors, recalculating what's possible.
Don't miss Russo and Rizzo.
It is Scott Van Pelt joining the program now.
Where'd you go to school?
Ohio State.
You guys wanted to run Ryan Day.
In my defense.
Here we go.
Okay. 4 straight to Michigan. You know what that rivalry means.
I do. You know what's cooler than gold pants? A gold trophy. Get a hold of yourself.
I know. I'll lose
you won a title.
He's vindicated.
My God, you beat Tennessee. You beat Oregon.
Texas, yes.
And then you beat
Scott Iverson.
Oh, we didn't beat Michigan. Yeah. Who gives a?
I ate the crow.
It's Russo and Rizzo, weekdays at 4, here on ESPN 106.3.
Introducing the bold, the powerful, the all-new 2025 Range Rover Sport P530 Dynamic SE. A luxury SUV that commands attention with its refined design, dynamic performance, and cutting-edge technology. Lease the 2025 Range Rover Sport for just $1529 per month for 36 months. Drive in style, power, and comfort, all for just $1529 a month. Visit Land Rover Palm Beach today and take the new Range Rover Sport for a spin. Terms and conditions apply. See dealer for details.
Calling all sports fans, grab your MVP card and head to Duffy's where you can catch all of the action. Not an MVP? Sign up for free and start earning rewards today. Duffy's is voted the best sports grill year after year with their award-winning burgers and wings. Don't forget about Duffy's famous 2-for-1 drinks all day, every day. And with over 80 TVs in every location, you'll never miss a minute of the game. Visit Duffy'sMVP.com to learn more. Duffy's, our game is always on.
F45 Training in downtown West Palm and Wellington offers functional group fitness classes reimagined. F45 features high-intensity group-style workouts that are fast, fun, and results-driven. They always have the right workout for you. The best part is, it takes just 45 minutes. If you're looking to train for something like High Rocks, F45 has you covered with tailored workouts. Get started today with a promo of your first 3 classes for just $30. Visit F45training.com to find a studio near you and officially join the F45 family. F45, team training, life-changing.
Let's go double right, scatter right, double cowboy. Double right, scatter right, double cowboy.
This is Sunday Huddle with Colin Russo, presented by Hard Rock Bet.
Sunday Huddle presented by Hard Rock Bet, ESPN 106.3. Colin Russo, Cade Chumsden with you. A wonderful Sunday here in South Florida. We're at the City Place Studios in downtown West Palm Beach on your radio dial at ESPN 106.3. We're also streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter/X at ESPN West Palm. NFL schedule is out. We got a little Game 7 action tonight. The WNBA is finally tipping off. I always find it so weird how the women's college basketball plays throughout the season. They do like 2 weeks, they get drafted. Then all of a sudden they're in preseason for the next year. It's a brutal 7 to 8 month stretch. I know the WNBA season isn't as long, but that's nonstop, especially with all that travel. Nonetheless, Cade, it's time for us to have a little fun. First, Hard Rock Bet, go get started. Go download it today because Cade and I are about to take some futures. Cade and I are about to take a couple games, and you can too. Parlay it, add some, put some futures, game-by-game line, live line, player props, you name it, they have it. Hard Rock Bet, go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store to get started today. Hard Rock, it caters to both types of players. If you're the brand new player, don't necessarily know how to navigate a sports book, well, it's super easy as an app. The interface is very accessible. On the flip side of things, if you're the experienced player, want to get really complicated, Hard Rock Bet has that covered as well. Covers both sides of players, and that's why I love it. Best part is you get $100 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not hit. That first bet can be a parlay, prop, over, you name it, they got it. Hard Rock Bet, offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida, must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida. The wager, terms and conditions apply. Considered by gambling, call 1-888. Admit it. All right, Cade, let's do it with our friends at Hard Rock Bet. Let's blitz the book. All right, blitz the book, Hard Rock Bet. Cade, we're going to take a couple games here. Let's start with the game at 3:30. That is Nuggets and the Thunder. Game 7 action, so very exciting there. And my takeaway, what is this game? 7.5? Ooh, 7.5 in favor of the OKC Thunder at the moment. You laying that down? You're taking, we're both on the same page here,
We're
right?
going to both take the Nuggets, and we're
Yes.
probably going to take them outright, too. But
Plus 250 line is enticing. I think this line is not. I don't know why this line is 7.5. I'm a little confused here. I think this line should be like 4.5.
I think a lot of people are banking on the home crowd for the Thunder, which I will admit, my mom's side of the family is from that area, and those people go crazy for the Thunder. So I actually believe that stadium is legit. I just don't think it's going to phase the Nuggets.
I agree. I don't think you're going to phase the Nuggets. I would take the plus 7.5, and I would also take just narrowly the over at 213.
That's a great line.
Yeah, that's not a bad line.
What did you say, 109, 104? Aren't you like right at that 213 line? You banked that hard.
That was a good call.
It was. I don't think you
I'm going
looked
to take
at
the over just in case I'm a little off and they score more. Let's take the over to backdoor that. Is there a bet where I can do exactly the point total?
I know, right?
That would be quite the odds.
Bang on.
Right, absolutely. All right, Cade, we'll do that one. All right, now let's have some fun. Let's go. Let's shift over to the W. We're both on the same page, though. Plus 7.5 in favor of the Nuggets.
You have to.
Fair enough. All right, the WNBA has started, and there's some team futures there that we could touch. So what are you thinking here? Let's start with a winner. The New York Liberty are plus 210. The Indiana Fever are plus 375. The Las Vegas Aces are plus 375. And the Minnesota Lynx are plus 400. The WNBA is very lopsided. It has been for a number of years.
Yeah.
You got four teams with less than plus 1,000 odds. What say you here, Cade?
As long as... I'm sorry, what is the other big name in New York? There's Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart. That's who I'm thinking of. As long as those two are there, you're not going to get a lot of teams that are going to vie for contention.
Plus 210 as a champion is insane.
Yes, and I think I'm going to have to go with the favorite here. Shout out to Caitlin Clark from turning the Indiana Fever from the worst team in the WNBA to the second favorite to win it all 2 years later. That's huge at plus 375. But to me, I'm going to go with the favorites.
Listen, I'm a Caitlin Clark guy. I like Caitlin Clark. They got Sophia Cunningham, the new rookie there. They're plus 375. It's not the greatest odds in the world, but I'm in favor of Caitlin Clark and that team letting the world on fire. I'm in favor of that. That's what I want to root for.
They probably will.
And think about that for a second. She was in Iowa. She played like 30-something games, had the brutal playoff stretch, jumps in. All of a sudden, she's the face of the WNBA. She's getting beat up all year. Didn't necessarily have a break. She got out of the public light a little bit. She got to kind of focus on it herself, Caitlin Clark, that is. Now she's able to reset, re-enter the stratosphere a bit. Plus 375, I'll take the Indiana Fever.
Nice.
That's a good one. All right, Cade. Now, a couple NFL ones. This is early, so we can kind of do this loosely. But the point win totals of each NFL team is out. Are there any that strike your mind immediately?
Yeah, immediately right out of the gate. I'm going to go Tampa over the 9.5 wins. I still think that's the favorite in that division. I know they just lost their offensive coordinator, but man, they lock up some more wide receivers. They just had a great
drafted
draft.
another one, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily see the Falcons. The Falcons would be the next person out there. I don't think Bryce Young and the Panthers are there yet to be in contention, but
Right.
give me Tampa over 9.5. I think they get to double digits.
You know, here's a bit of a risky one, but especially after the year they had, they'll be motivated. But I like Detroit's under. They're 10.5. That is a low number to begin with.
Wow.
That team is 11.5. I think this team might go 10-7.
Big regression coming from the
It's
Lions.
just, for me, there's a couple things that I like here. Number one, they're playing outdoors a lot more this year than they did last year.
Very true. Where they have like
Now,
7 outdoor games or
Right,
something
they had
this
like
year?
7 compared. They had 15 of their 18 last year were in domes.
Yep.
And they played one game late in Lambeau. They were able to beat them, so they actually showed you something there. But they play at Kansas City. They play at Philadelphia. They have some big time outdoor games that I think would be. They play at Soldier Field to end the game. They end the year. They play at Cincinnati. They play at the Ravens. They have tough road games. Because of that, also the fact that they lost both coordinators, I think they're going to feel that quickly. I think the Eagles felt that when they lost Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, and I think the Lions are going to feel that here. You lose your brains of the operation. That's a tough thing to. It's easy to get a new receiver and have him replace somebody, but your offensive coordinator, hard to recapture that magic. I would take the Lions under. You have another one for us?
Yeah, I'm going to go with. I am going to really regret this one potentially. I'm going to take the Jets over.
Wow.
The Jets are sitting at 5.5 right now.
I got burned by that last year. Never again.
I think they go 6-11. I don't think that's too much to ask for. I think the Dolphins are going to be worse. I think the Patriots are going to still be the Patriots. So their division might be a little bit easier. They're going to be playing a second to last place schedule. Can I just ask for 6 wins from Justin Fields? Maybe not, but I like it better than Aaron Rodgers.
I'm going to do it. I don't care. I'm going to do it. This is early. Jacksonville Jaguar over 7.5.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. Listen, their schedule, we talked about it a little bit earlier. It's tough to start. They got the Panthers at home. They are at the Bengals. They got the Texans at home. Then they're at 49ers. But then they got the Chiefs on Monday Night Football and Seattle and the Rams back-to-back. That is a tricky start to their schedule.
We're going to see how Liam Cohen can do.
Figure it out quickly, especially with Travis Hunter, too.
Not necessarily figure it out. Don't let your team get down early. Like, hey, listen, we're about to go through a gauntlet in these first 6 weeks.
You come out 3-4, you're okay.
We're going to win the season with our last 6 games.
Right.
That's what you have to continually keep telling them.
3-4 is not the worst thing in the world. You can't get discouraged by something like that. Because at the end of the year, to bring that point up, they finish off with at the Cardinals, at the Titans, Colts, Jets, both at home, at Denver, and then at the Colts, home against Titans. It's an easy finish to the schedule.
It is.
So an easy finish to the schedule there. 7.5. They're 2 years removed from going 9-8. They won, this is possible. This is possible. I'm not just screaming into the clouds here. Jacksonville, I think, has gotten better. I like the new coach. I'm not sure if you'll see immediate results, but I don't think 9 wins is the hardest thing to ask for. I don't think that's the hardest thing.
No, it shouldn't be.
100%. All right, Cade, you got one more for us.
I'm going to go last one. You talked about regressions earlier coming from the coaching staff of the Lions. I'm actually going to go with it, a quarterback. I don't think Sam Darnold has the same year he does last year. I'm going to go with the under on the Seattle Seahawks at 8.5. I think the Niners will be a little bit better. I think the Rams are going to go off this year with Devontae Adams.
Yeah, you think Seattle's going to be odd man out here?
I think Seattle goes 7-10.
Wow.
8-9 maybe if they're lucky, but I don't think they get to 9 or 10 wins this year. I'm going to go under on Seattle.
Interesting. All right, here's an interesting one. This is a team that always flies under the radar. They had a great start to the year, then they fell off the map. The Arizona Cardinals. Why do I say that? I think they got an easy schedule. And number 2, I think Kyler Murray, more so than maybe some people want to admit, I think this is a prove-it year. I think they will determine this year whether they want to move on from him or not. If he stinks this year, they've had him under the contract for 3 years now, I believe. So, they could get I'd have to double check. They could get out of it if they need it. But Kyler Murray to win 9 games, I don't think that's a crazy ask. They start at the Saints. They got the Panthers early. Then all of a sudden, they got the Titans a little later on. They finish off the schedule. They got the Texans, Falcons, Bengals. This is not impossible. I know there's pretty decent teams, but I don't think the Rams will be as good. And I don't think Seattle, like you said, will be that great either.
You don't think the Rams will be as good?
As good. They're going to be what they always are. They're going to be that 9-10 win team.
Okay.
I don't think Seattle will be. I agree with you, though. I don't think Seattle will be that 10-win team. Somebody's got to do it. Why not the Cardinals? Sweep them under the radar, surprise everybody.
That was my team that I banked on last year and blew it hard.
Burned? Yeah,
that was my team.
That's Cade Chumson, Colin Russo on a Sunday edition. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the PGA Championship. We say so long. It's been Sunday Huddle. We're live from the City Place Studios right here on ESPN 106.3.
preceding program was paid for in full by Hard Rock Bet. Advice and opinions expressed during this program were solely those of the guests or hosts of this program and not of ESPN 106.3 or Good Karma Brands.